Hello to all my lovely subscribers. Thank you so much again for all your support, your likes, your subs, your comments, every single bit of interaction that I get. Now, today, we're going to focus on the rover for the first time in a few weeks. And that is, we are going to be changing the HT leads and coil pack, both the pencil coil packs, for brand new ones. I have had some new bits and pieces come today, and I'm going to fit them straight away because, as I say, the rover is still running a little bit stuttery at lower RPMs. The spark plug gap reduction that I did on the live stream made a little bit of difference, but not too much. It hasn't actually affected the performance in terms of how it pulls, but just a little bit how smooth it is at idle. So I would definitely recommend that as an actual going concern. So that is basically ignoring the 1mm recommended gap and going to 0.8. Apparently you could go to 0.75, but I tried for 0.8. I did, specifically in that video. Let's have a look at some of the new leads that have come and just see what the advantages might be of buying such items. And first of all, over here we have two Cambiari pencil aftermarket coil packs. And that is the parts number. And this is all rubber. Some of the cheaper ones are actually plastic that I've actually discovered. There is a little bit of dielectric grease, but I am going to actually put some as natural onto the new HT lead, which I'm going to explain in a second. But I'm going to do a weight test because the ultimate test of how good an aftermarket coil pack is versus an OEM genuine one is the weight. How much does that copper weigh? Because that's where the cheap ones are much lighter. And you don't want to fit them to your car because it won't run very well for a long time. Or if it won't run at all from brand new. So be aware of that. And these two HT leads are high performance. High performance. And believe you me, I've done that many times because they're high performance, don't you know? Mr. Retro Leads and Plugs from, I think, based in Telford. He's on eBay. This is his business card. I would recommend it because I have gone to him before for plugs for my Rover P6 years ago, and a lot of it is hand-built stuff these days. I love the fact that the actual grommets he gives, and these feel really high quality. That will stop water getting in that little skirt, as I call it. But you've got the option of pushing them this way, which I may have to do on the Rover. This is quite nice actually, but it feels high quality. Quite a nice thick cable, as you could expect, and it all looks nice and clean. Yeah, these are good, very good cable connections. I shall read off what it actually says here. So the ignition cable is a premium brand, high performance. The core of it uses a fiberglass and Kevlar base with an extruded wire wound conductor cable. I don't know what half of that means, which is tightly wound with a stainless steel resistance wire band with a conductive lacquer. This design ensures maximum spark with virtually zero voltage loss while maintaining an excellent level of EMI and RSI suppression, addiction to suppression. And to be honest with you, I will say this one thing. OEM leads are very good for that anyway, but I think these may go slightly further. But I don't think it's something that you may notice, but it's quite interesting. With a resistance range of 5,500 ohms per meter, they provide superior reliability and ultimate performance at all times, under the most severe conditions. Now, I think that is basically a sales pitch for this is good for racing cars, because they are put under severe conditions. Now, to be honest with you, and I've said this before in a Focus Mark 1 video, if you may have watched that, these will not get you any more power than the actual originals. The only reason being, I suspect the originals on my 45 are very tired. So naturally, you're going to see a difference. But if I fitted brand new original HT leads and then fitted these, there'd be no difference. And you know why? Because it's limited. These HT leads are limited by the amount of power they supply to the plugs via the coil packs. The coil packs control that. And at the end of the day, they could be the most ridiculously expensive magna cores. They will not produce any more power than what that coil pack supplies it. I really don't think you're going to see that much of a difference. And I will probably do so. I'll probably show you this in this episode. We'll go for a little test drive and might show you my thoughts on the subject. But anyway, let's fit these on. Right, look at the beautiful K-series as usual. I thought I'd film over here instead of over there because it's so sunny, and this side of the driveway is not particularly good for security at night because it's very dark, but it's very good for filming, so I may take advantage while my housemates are away with their cars. But anyway, coil packs. I would recommend that when you're replacing the coil packs, you just change the HT leads. It's good practice, unless you specifically know that either the coil packs or the HT leads are brand new. If one of them's brand new, then just replace the other. But if they're kind of the same age and kind of quite old like mine, and as I discovered during the live stream, one of the HT leads is different from the other. So you can't buy HT leads in singles. You can only buy them as pairs or as fours or sixes, whatever you need. So obviously someone has got a second-hand one from somewhere, and that might be the whole issue, a dodgy HT lead. But anyway, let's take this beauty cover off with these 3 8mm bolts, and all it requires is an 8mm, because all the bolts we are touching today is 8mm. And I know what you're going to say, oh well, you should have disconnected the battery. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, do you? Okay, now my top tip here when you're confronted with this is you cannot get this plug lead off because there is no room because of the actual back of the timing belt cover. So you're going to have to loosen this anyway and then move it off and then take the plug connector off. That's my opinion. But basically I would just literally, if you look at the way it's routed, I will tell you this now, you'll see the way it's routed. So you've got the number 4 coming off the first coil pack, okay, number 4 HT lead going to number 4. It basically curls around the number 2, okay, sits in that groove, then goes up this little groove on this second coil pack. They've both got these grooves, so don't worry about that, and then it goes to number 4. The number 2 coil pack, well, on number 3 I should say, the second coil pack on number 3 has the HT lead for cylinder number 2. And this wraps around number 4, goes down the second groove and then into the second cylinder. Okay, so that is how it's wrapped up. So literally just take it out the grooves. I do not care. I'm going to keep these as emergency spares, but quite frankly I don't see any need to keep these. Pull these out, and then literally you're just left with one electrical connector. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these bolts out because that's a bit taut as well. This wiring should be actually clipped in, and it isn't. That's possibly because I've actually pulled it up to release it from the coil pack in the past. Anyway, I'll do that now. A very, very simple job. What I'd recommend is not putting your screws here. Put them on the floor somewhere safe, because then they won't drop around the spark plugs. I mean, the spark plugs are in, so it's not going to drop into the cylinder or anything, but you know. Oh dear me, I can't wait to get this on the road in a second and see what difference this makes. It may make absolutely no difference at all, and I'll be scratching my head, and that will rule out a major problem. Well, a major potential issue, but I just want to make this car reliable. And even though these coil packs have only done 50,000 miles or so, and well, I don't know what the HT leads have done, because one of them's been clearly changed for a cheaper one. I mean, look, that's plastic. It's not as nice, and then definitely not as thick as the new ones I've bought. I just hope the new ones will fit in these guides here, because they are 8mm and these are potentially 7. Anyway, lovely. Right, box down on the floor there, and then we can just pop and we might have to pop the wiring just slightly to take the wiring off. Electrical shock, because I didn't disconnect the battery. Did you see that? No. I'm just saying. Hey. Right. Now there's something I'm going to do here before I put the new coil packs on. Come inside. Oh yes, it's the scale test. Cambiari, the original. I mean, to me, practically identical. I love the fact that the originals have got this rubber plastic end to it, and the originals have also. Anyway, let's get on with it. So this is the original. Can't even get the parts number on, but we're just going to place it on. 276 grams. Let's just do that again. Let it reset. Place it in a different direction. 275. Okay, so 275, 276. This is where I find out how good these are. 274. Let's try a different angle. 274. Well, I think we can conclude, taking a gram away, which is absolutely nothing, these are good. You should get these. Cambiari 20120401. That's the number. Or if you go by the original parts number on these, NEC 100730 is the one you want to go for. The original are Denzos. You'll find these, and these are far cheaper than the original genuine ones that are hanging around, new old stock. Now the other thing I'm going to point out to you, I'm just going to come here. So this is the new cable, this is the old one. Yeah, there is a difference. This is, I think, about 7mm, and this is 8. These may struggle to fit into the actual coil packs. See, it will just about go in, but it might be tight. So that's the only downfall of what I've just done, but we'll see how it will go in. Another thing, I would recommend this. Silicone grease is that's basically dielectric grease. I put a little bit just at the ends of the actual HT leads where they connect to the coil packs, and then I'll put some more. Okay, just smear some in, not a lot. Doesn't require an awful lot. Okay, it's just basically to prevent water ingress. It's good practice. And then I'd always smear some at the bottom there, but where it goes on the spark plug, but just particularly where they connect to the coil packs. Right, so first one, so connect the HT lead to the coil pack, squeeze it on. That's it. Lovely. Right, so coil pack number 1, if I just connect it up. Okay, so pop that in if I can. Might be a bit squidgy at first. Whoopsie daisy. Just make sure it goes over the top. That will go down quite nicely, just need to actually screw it down. Then the next one. And do exactly the same with this one. There we go. Nicely on. Just tighten them down. Not overly tight. There is a torque setting for these. It's very low. Just nip them up. Nothing more than that. There we go. Right, what I've had to do is put one of them through, but this one seems slightly more narrow, so I'm not going to force this big thick cable to go through there. I mean, that actually has widened. These tabs on the outside have actually stretched this way, so that's why that can fit quite snugly. It's actually quite nice, but this, nah, you damage the cable. This is where the limitations of thicker 8mm HT leads comes into play. I am going to route that slightly differently. I don't want to cause a sort of crossfire, but these are well insulated, so there'll be no there'd be no problem with like having HT leads crossing, but I'll figure out how to actually put this one back on. Potentially we'll sort of hook around there, and then we'll basically have that pushed into there. But these are really, really high quality fitting items. Now the test is, will it start? This is the bit where it runs worse than what it was before. Touch wood, that doesn't happen. Done. I will say this is a cold start, so it sounds a bit rorty. Yep, that's all nicely fixed in. Lovely. Everything's looking nicely rooted. At the end of the day, as long as the HT leads on these things can be a bit fiddly to route them round. The OEM ones were much better because they're only 7mm, so they can be manipulated slightly more easy, where these are slightly thicker. But the advantage I may get over that, well, who knows? We're going to find out in a second. Just going to pop the beauty cover back on. I noticed that on the later ones they got rid of the rover name, because there was a rover name on this, but as I presume it's because they were cutting costs between the rover models and the MG models. So instead of having rover on one and MG on the other, they just had a blank, so they could use this panel with both cars. Nice piece of cost cutting there, I suppose. Done. Right. Let's get on the road. Well, do you know what? I can honestly say it pulls and drives exactly the same. I suspect, and this is my feeling, just now while it was idling and I was putting the camera where it is placed for you guys to see me, the idle is definitely a fraction smoother, just a fraction. So I'm quite pleased at that little result. Has it made too much of a difference? I don't necessarily think so. But when I put my foot down, it does pull in a more linear, non-hesitancy manner. Is it jerky at lower RPMs? The easiest way of telling is by pulling over. I'll just pull over here. Now if we set off in a normal motion, indeed no sport mode whatsoever, no, the only slight hesitancy is the gearbox, and that's, from what I've been told, a little bit normal when it's just starting to spool up and get going. Theory is it shouldn't be like that, but apparently these gearboxes do exhibit such behaviour. But overall, there's less hesitancy. I'm not putting my foot on the gas nowhere near as much as what I was before. And strangely enough, the low fuel warning light has gone straight out. I do think that the sender is a little bit like in my old P6. It used to be a little bit, well, it used to over register and then under register and then sort of try and find a leeway in between, but it's never accurate. It's never where it's meant to be. To be fair, I don't know many cars with an accurate fuel sender. You've got to kind of take it as a mean average, really. I have put some Red X into this car and it has made it work just a little bit more smoother before I'd even changed the coil packs today. I think with the spark plug gaps being narrowed, the new coil packs and these 8mm HT leads, which are now, they're working absolutely fine. It's all working in situ. It is smoother and it is slightly more responsive, but we're talking fractionally. Now, I've got to know this car very well over the last few weeks, commuting, daily driving, and the fuel light has just come on again. So naturally, as we're going uphill, potentially the fuel has sloshed more to one side and the sender's going a bit AWOL. Oh, for God's sake, another learner. Well, I suppose it's an excuse for me to keep talking, but all these little jobs have made a slight difference. But because I've got to know the car so well, I can just tell a remote fraction that there is a difference. Somebody who's only driven the car a couple of times wouldn't know this, but you have to know exactly how the car responds under a certain situation. And you know exactly what I mean from being a keen and enthusiast owner, which most of you probably are. Whatever car you own, whether it's a Rover, a Ford, or anything else, or even my good friend who owns some DAF Variomatics, who will very, very much be interested in my videos and has been. Dr. Uzo, I think I got your channel name right, sir. I know you're watching. And I would like a DAF Variomatic to just experience one. Probably a Volvo 343, something like that. Yeah, I'm doing if you've watched Keeping Up Appearances, I have no idea where I'm going. I can't decide what exits. Let's take this one. I'm not going to do a Mr. Bucket and keep going round the roundabout forever. I love that sitcom. I love good old-fashioned sitcoms. Something that the sense of humour that we British have has been diluted by people who basically take offence at anything. And now we've got to the point where there just isn't any decent sitcoms. Although I hear that Fawlty Towers is making a return. I don't know how good that is going to be, considering that only the great man himself is the only surviving cast member. But it just glide, it is so smooth, it's much more smoother now. Put the Red X through. I do believe that we were having some misfiring because of blocked injectors. Now, I did clean the inlet manifold, but what I didn't do is I didn't clean the injectors personally. Now, ideally, petrol is a good cleaner, but a lot of byproducts from the burning of petrol in the engine goes back through the inlet and can block your injectors. So, Red X, I believe in it. I really do believe in it as a product. Right, are we ready for some sports action? Right, we're in sport. This is a 30-mile-an-hour road and I always obey the speed limit, so I'm just going to duck down. Go. Gosh, it goes up to 3,000 RPM. I have to say one thing about the K series. I'll put it back into D. It's not as refined as a Sigma, as higher RPMs. The Sigma sounds just a little bit less raughty. It feels very agricultural, the K series, I have to say. It is refined, but as soon as you get to 3,000 RPM, not quite so much. Yeah, I really must refuel this car. I've got a little job to do in the garage this afternoon. I've got some more pictures to go on the wall, some readjustments here and there. I've got to put some carpet on the wall to stop me smashing the Focus Mark 1 door against the garage wall. Inevitably, that always happens. But I think we can conclude that this has been a successful job, and it, above all else, it's preventative maintenance. Aftermarket parts can be a bit hit and miss. I do hope these are going to be as reliable as the originals. We'll see. But the quality is exactly the same, the weight is exactly the same, and those HT leads, they look high quality, they feel handmade, high quality stuff at a reasonable price. So that is all really that I have to say. So I bid you a good evening or good afternoon. God knows when I'm going to put this out, but here's to more Rover videos coming forward. There are a couple more coming forwards. So you take care, guys. I will see you in another episode.